Well,
No,
perhaps.
we have a huge incarceration rate, and I think drugs are the main culprit. I talked to a fellow the other night in Des Moines who I think is an example of 30 million Americans. But this guy was really a nice guy, really articulate, nice guy, who was arrested for possessing 1 gram of marijuana with the intent to distribute it to his 17-year-old daughter. He was convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison and served 1 year in prison.
I just received a letter 2 days ago as director of Iowa Normal, a similar case up by Waterloo. I don't know what to tell him. It's just ridiculous.
He's one of, I would estimate, 30 million Americans that, but for our drug laws, would otherwise be a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen. This guy was not a criminal.
I wonder if we did something different about immigration, if we controlled, and they're only here to work and to work visas, and that would affect the prisons as well, I would think.
Well, you know, right now, if we didn't have illegal immigration, we would probably have almost full employment.
Well, that's another, I don't think so, and I don't think so because of our welfare system,
Yeah.
which promotes sitting at home as opposed to going out and getting a minimum wage job. And of course, we all know that going out and getting a minimum wage job doesn't stay that way very long at all. You go out and get a minimum wage job and you work yourself up and you make better by it. But
It's
we
hard
have,
to find a minimum wage job.
it is.
There's just not many jobs to pay that little.
Right. But reform welfare to where we have to work, where if you can work, you will work. I will tell you in New Mexico, and that as governor of New Mexico, I implemented welfare reform in New Mexico administratively. That if you could work, you would work. All the help wanted signs in New Mexico went down for a period of 2 months. Immediately when I did this, administratively, I was sued by the legislature saying that I didn't have the administrative capability to do that, that needed to be a legislated item. The Supreme Court in New Mexico, 2 months after I implemented welfare reform, agreed with that, and help wanted signs went right back up. And I'm a firm believer in balance of power, 3 branches of government. I believe in. It's just when it comes to me, because I'm the benevolent dictator. I know the best. I know how to do things best.
You mean hard work never killed anyone?
I'm sure it has. I'm sure.
Case after case.
So are you familiar with Bob Schultz, We the People Foundation, and his efforts with the Continental Congress regarding petition to redress the grievances? Citizens have repeatedly petitioned the government for various things, like a lot of things we talked about, war powers, immigration, banking, all these violations of the Constitution. I mean, please study up on that, because I'm sure you'll have other people asking you about how everybody goes to court, and the court just saying, we don't care, you have no standing. They deliver the petitions to Congress, they deliver them to the president, they deliver them to the Supreme Court, and they what petition?
I hope this isn't going down a cul-de-sac, but one of the things I did as governor of New Mexico was I had an open door after 4 policy, where anybody in the state of New Mexico could come and see me the 3rd Thursday of every month, starting at 4 in the afternoon on 5-minute increments. Point of this was that nobody in the state of New Mexico couldn't come in and talk to me. You would be amazed at the things that I found out, the atrocities that government committed against individuals, and how many of those situations I was able to write. And I always said that it wasn't just the individual involved, it would have been all the other individuals that were subject to the same thing that never did take the time to come in and to try and fix those things.
I've got a question about executive branch powers, regulatory bodies, specifically Department of Labor, or like the EPA. What are your thoughts on, say like OSHA being able to go into a business, open their financial books, kind of extort money from people. Same thing with the EPA. I mean, isn't that kind of
It's absolutely egregious. It's absolutely egregious. And the executive branch does have the power to directly affect that kind of stuff, directly impact that stuff.
Second Amendment and militias. I'm sure there's a lot of people interested in that.
Well, I'm a firm believer in gun rights, unfettered gun rights. I did have the ability and did sign concealed carry in New Mexico.
So guns aren't just for criminals anymore, huh?
Yep.
You know, I had this notion that that if everybody carried, that we'd actually see a decrease in crime. And of course, since 1995, I think that has really borne itself out. I mean, there's some really solid statistics to back that up these days.
Every
There is
state-
no shootouts at intersections. You know, there's civility at intersections.
Except for the illegals and drug related. You're right.
Well, drug related, yeah. And just, and you're probably aware of this, you know, when it comes to crime, I think that one of the misconceptions is that illegal immigrants are committing this vast amount of crime. From a crime standpoint, illegal immigrants commit the least amount of crime on a per capita basis as compared to legal immigrants, next amount of per capita crime, as opposed to U.S. citizens per capita crime. They're walking on eggshells, and should. We should all be walking on eggshells when it comes to crime.
Question. When you're going around the country, you're usually talking to more Republican or Libertarian or conservative groups. How do you anticipate most groups, or how do you plan to get your message out when most people don't know anything about you? You're going to hear you talking, they're going to label you pro-immigration, pro-abortion, anti-military, all of these negative connotations, but that's not your true stance, obviously, but all these labels, and people are just going to take that right away and, oh, I'm just going to ignore this guy's crazy.
You know, if you look at all the articles that have been written about me since the 1st of December, if you look at anything that's been on television since the 1st of December, I don't think there's been a single article that would say what you just said.
Well, maybe not the media, but people that come here that might listen to you talk, that, you know, with the current anti-immigration xenophobia going across this nation, they're going to look at you and you're basically pro-immigration. That's what they're going to see. And they're just going to tune you out at that point.
Well, have you tuned me out?
No, because I agree with you 100%. I'm saying that people
No. So I'm just saying. Actually, that I think that's been the reaction that I've had. Is that it's been really an overwhelming. Well, no, I don't know if I'd label him pro-immigration. I think I'm hoping to get across the message that I'm all about dollars and cents. I'm all about getting the best bang for the buck, and my real concern is the bankruptcy of this country and getting that under control. And that I've always been about cost benefit, and I can't think of a single exception where cost benefit gets crossways with what's right.
Well, I hope it continues. I just don't want people to instantly label you those things so
Yeah.
that they just tune you out. That'd be my fear.
You know, and if I could just interject, I think that the marijuana issue, it's a real attention getter, but what it also does with the media, with a lot of people, is it's actually really credible. It gives a credibility, because I'm the only politician out there saying that the emperor has no clothes. And everybody sees it. Everybody sees it. And those that don't, you know, it's a good discussion. And based on my experience in New Mexico, there were fistfights in bars over the fact that the crazy governor was talking about legalizing marijuana, and there were those, you know, the crazy governor, I'm going to take this guy on, and there were those that he's not crazy at all, and that discussion went on, and it ended up being that I think New Mexicans are more informed about drug policy than any state in the country.